Hello and welcome to Just Jets episode number 283. We have finally made it. New York Jets training camp is here. The NFL season is back. It's been a tough few weeks for us Jet fans, not because anything really bad happened. In fact, quite the opposite. Nothing happened, which is great for this football team. For someone who talks about this football team every single day on the internet, not as good. But I'll take that because I think it means the Jets will be better. And I'm just excited because from now we are at the end of July through August, September, October, November, December. That's regular season. I'm not saying that, let's not get nuts here and put the Jets in the playoffs. But from now through the NFL draft next year, there is always something going on. So we've made it through the other side. I'm excited to get into this episode with you. Training camp opens today. First practice is later on. We'll have a video recap on the YouTube channel. But what I wanted to do with this one is talk Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner because they spoke with the media for the first time after signing their contracts. They talk contracts, they talk Jets, they talk training camp. So without further ado, let's hop into it. We get started with Garrett Wilson talking about what it means that the New York Jets wanted to invest in him.
I mean, it meant a lot. Something that we had been working on for a little bit. We both had discussed how we wanted to go about it. On my end, it was, let things happen, handle your business here, and let's just let it happen. And on their end, it was we're going to be working behind the scenes to get it done. So having them follow through on that it means a lot to me. Not to mention, I've been here for 3 years. We haven't won many games. I haven't had, the season that I had hoped, and for them to still come in here and believe in me and say, hey, we think you can be a part of, the successful side of this thing for years to come is awesome. So I'm ecstatic, man, for real.
Love that answer from Garrett Wilson talking about why the New York Jets believed in him there. He would go on to say, not included in a video, that he wanted to show up, like if he wants to talk about winning and that's really most important to him, then he's got to be able to show up and put in the work now during, mini camp and OTAs. And that's why he was able to show up and he trusted them that he would get the contract. And it worked out for both sides. The Jets get their guy to show up and Garrett Wilson, their number one receiver, no holdout, no hold in, participates in OTAs, participates in, mini camp. And then the Jets reward him with a contract. And for Garrett Wilson, he becomes the fifth highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. And I could not be any more thrilled that Garrett Wilson is a New York Jet. I think he is the exact kind of guy that you'd want to be building around here. And I've said that before. And I think his answers really prove that to me. That this is a mature kid, has a good head on his shoulders, and wants to go about this the right way. And I think he knows how important it is that the Jets start to win football games. That's been a frustrating part for him so far in his NFL career, is that they haven't been able to win as much as maybe he would like to. And that's what I wanted to get to next. And the audio clip jumped me a little bit, but we're going to hop into it right now. Garrett Wilson on the next step and what has to happen here for the New York Jets going forward.
For football, I feel like I've said that a few times this offseason because, that's the question I've been getting asked, right? And that's, you said the next thing, that's the thing, the only thing. I feel like I haven't done anything, right? Let's play meaningful football. That's all. Just play in December and January when it matters, when you're playing for something, and go out and make plays. Do what you do, but on the highest stage. I feel like that's the next step. All the rest of the stuff will take care of itself if we find ourselves playing meaningful football in December and January.
I love the emphasis, how, actually, let's go back to it a second.
Meaningful football.
Playing meaningful football with his hand, and then he goes to fix his hat, but playing meaningful football in December and January. We haven't really gotten that in a long time. Now, the Jets did start 7-4 a few years ago and then lost 6 straight games to close their season. Look, I said at the top, I don't know offhand if this is going to be the year the Jets break the playoff drought. Just flat out don't know. I don't know if they have the horses to do it. I hope they do. We have had some optimistic callers call in and think that this is the year, they win 9-10 games this season and make the playoffs. God, I hope you're right. Genuinely, I really, really do. I don't think they're going to be horrible this year. I mean, you guys have listened. If you're listening to Just Jets, you're a diehard fan, and you know where I stand right now. I think they're a slightly improved team that is ready to take the real push in 2026. That's my guess. But I love that answer from Garrett. And, I tweeted it out, and I really mean it. I think, put a C on his chest. Garrett Wilson's a captain on this team. Whether he has the C or not, he has the exact mindset that I want from my players. Genuinely cares about winning. Wants to be part of this to turn this thing around. And I hope at the end of the day, that's what we see. We deserve to see Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner on teams that are in the playoffs. Like, think of, how fondly Jets fans remember, I don't know, pick anyone from the mid 2000s on, right? Like Nick Mangold, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Darrell Revis, Sean Ellis, Chad Pennington, guys who've been on teams that just, made the playoffs. Unfortunately, Jets weren't able to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl, but how fondly are guys like Nick Mangold and Darrell Revis remembered by this fan base, David Harris, because they were a part of teams that made the playoffs. And Jet fans are just dying to get some sort of success, even if it's, making the playoffs and winning a playoff game. That would be a huge, huge achievement right now. And it might be, if you're a fan of another team tuning into this, you might be like, that's a little embarrassing. And it is. It is. The bar is so low that making the playoffs and winning a playoff game would be a resounding success. But that's where the bar has to be when you have the longest active playoff drought and you haven't made the playoffs since 2010. That's 15 years ago now. So yeah, that's where the bar is going to start. And I do think that Garrett Wilson's going to be one of the guys who is able to turn this around. And, he wasn't the only one that spoke today. I hinted on it. Sauce Gardner as well had some comments. And Sauce wants to be the best. He's very motivated. Here's Sauce Gardner talking about his motivation, I guess, after this contract extension.
I want to be the best. That's not just this season, but that's in general, my legacy that I want to leave. I want to win games, and I think we have the players, the coaches, and everything that it takes to win games and to win a lot of games. So, I'm just looking forward to that. That's my main thing. I know my individual accolades, those are going to come with us winning games, so because I know our coaches are putting us in position and they're going to put me in position to make plays. So individually, that's not something that I'm worried about. I just know us winning games. Everything else is going to come.
That's another answer that I really love from Sauce Gardner too. That, sure, the players want accolades for themselves too, and that's totally natural. But as he says, the more they win, the more accolades you're going to get. And how about that? The coaching staff putting their players in a position for success. That's allowed. We're allowed to do that. Man, it must be nice, right? Something that I think Aaron Glenn's going to really help Sauce Gardner out with is turnovers. I don't know if Sauce is ever going to be a guy who pulls in 7 interceptions in a season. That's just not really his game. He's not really targeted enough to do that. But instead of 0 or 1 picks a year, if he gets 3 to 5 interceptions a year, that'd be huge for his game. It really, really would. And his first 2 years in the league, first team All-Pro, deservedly so, was a first team All-Pro. And I think the sky's the limit for him. That's something that he said too. The sky is the absolute limit. And I like his work ethic. He came in, added a little bit more weight, a little bit more physical. Hopefully, that should help his tackling. And we'll see from there. But, that's not all. Sauce Gardner talked about what he wanted to improve on this offseason. And he said everything.
Everything, getting bigger, stronger, faster, footwork, just everything, locating the ball better, all the base fundamentals. I just prided myself on all of those things. It wasn't one specific thing. I was just trying to do a few things right, hundreds of thousands of times, so I can't get them wrong, So I feel like that's going to show in training camp, and I feel like it's going to show throughout the season. And looking forward to it.
You know what's really cool, and it's, this isn't the first year of this. This is the fourth year that we're going to get it. But Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner going head-to-head in training camp and practice. The two of the best, right? Like Sauce, one of the best corners in the NFL. Garrett Wilson, ascending wide receiver, stud wide receiver. And they're going to make each other better. Iron sharpens iron, or it's that season, right? We got to talk our iron sharpening iron here. But for Sauce, that was something he mentioned, right? Finding the ball, creating more interceptions. And Aaron Glenn did that in his career. That was one of his strengths and a really good corner. I mean, before Darrelle Revis, Aaron Glenn was the guy for the Jets. And, in my humble opinion, it's, Darrelle Revis, Sauce Gardner, and Aaron Glenn is the three best guys in the NFL. In the Jets history. Not in the NFL. I wish they all played at the same time for the same team. That'd be pretty cool. But the top three guys in New York Jets history. So love that answer from Sauce Gardner. He's still working hard after getting paid. And then really the last thing that I wanted to share from Sauce Gardner, and there's a new quote that I want to play after from Quinnen Williams, but it's more Aaron Glenn than it is Quinnen Williams. But how about the maturity from Sauce Gardner and the awareness here? There was a story that Sauce Gardner was offered his contract the same day as Garrett Wilson, but he didn't sign the contract initially, and he gave a good reason as to why. Listen to this.
I was turned. I was very excited for him, so I called him, and we was just talking. We was just he was smiling. He already showed me his big house. I'm like, okay, so you was counting the chickens before they even hatched. Okay, I see you. You know what I'm saying? But this is right before that. The Jets had sent the offer, and it basically detailed it was gonna make me the highest paid. But then Garrett got signed, and I was like, I don't want to do my deal today. I don't want to agree to it today. I told my team, we're not agreeing to it today. I want Garrett to have his day, this full day to himself, to just feel good about himself and to, spend that time with his family and stuff like that. I'll do mine tomorrow. And, that's how it went. And, we was just very excited. Like I said, we just was we're going to make this we underpaid, Yeah, that's what.
How about that answer from Sauce Gardner? Says, you know what? Yeah, I got a contract. I got millions of dollars on the line here too. Not that it was going to be taken off the table from the Jets, but he goes, let Garrett have his day. I'll have mine tomorrow. And that's how it went last week. Monday, Garrett Wilson comes through. Sauce Gardner comes through on Tuesday. And two guys who were drafted together get signed together. And that's the future of this Jets team, man. Not just this year, but beyond. Those are really the two building block guys. And I'm thrilled for both of them. I said at the time, that was my reaction last week. Couldn't be happier for Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, but for the Jets themselves, having two young guys signed like that and to build around is really a hell of a start. They got a good head on their shoulders, and I genuinely am happy for both those guys. But I told you, or I wrote in the intro segment here, Garrett and Sauce comments, and that was it from those guys today. Again, they'll be on the practice field later on, and we'll recap that. But wanted to share this one as Quinnen Williams has something to say about Aaron Glenn and a comparison to Bill Parcells. I know Jet fans are going to be pumped up about this one because, well, that's a mentor. Bill Parcells is a mentor to Aaron Glenn. He coached Aaron Glenn from 97 through 99 with the New York Jets, 3 years. And listen to this quote from Quinnen Williams.
I've never been around Bill Parcells. I know I get a lot of the stories and stuff since I've been here. So to see a guy to kind of exemplify all the stories that I've heard about Bill Parcells is kind of I see what people was talking about when it comes down to the things that Bill Parcells did and how he acted and how he conducted himself and the things that he did to lead a team to success. So, and Coach Glenn got every single aspect of what I went through with Coach Saban and the stories I hear about Bill. So,
how about that? And I was just going to say before, I didn't hear the end of the quote. It was posted after I started recording. But I was going to say, Quinnen Williams was coached by arguably the best college coach to ever do it in Nick Saban also, or one of the best college coaches ever in Nick Saban. And, high praise for Aaron Glenn there. And he's going to get a ton of Bill Parcells comparisons. He worked under Sean Payton also. The signs are there for him to be a good head coach. Now's the time for him. He's just got to put all the pieces together and, again, win some games. It comes full circle here, doesn't it? They gotta win some football games now. That's it. Let's get to your voicemails. We got a few to get to today. We'll start with our guy, Travis from Ohio. He's up first. Travis, what do you got, my friend?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Travis.
Travis from Ohio. Hey, buddy. Long time no talk, but nothing's really been going on. Except lately, we got the Sauce and Garrett deals done, and with that, combined with Sherwood, who we signed earlier, and then Michael Carter Deuce, all locked up, including Quentin, up until like 2028, I think. Those guys are all locked up, and those are cornerstones, right? And then we got our offensive tackles on rookie deals. And how about Joe Tippmann? I just saw a video the other day where he was like the 8th ranked center, and he's supposed to have a competition with Myers. I like Myers. He's an Ohio State guy, but like that's a great backup right there. But Tippmann was a top 10 freaking center in his second year. Like, let that boy eat. Anyway, and then so that enters my question is, we got those guys locked up for a while. Where do we go with next year's free agents, which are both guards, Simpson and AVT? And Simpson, I think, was ranked like the 9th best guard, and AVT was like 12th. So, like, it'd be nice to have both those guys. I don't know if we can pay both. That's the thing. And I called in earlier and talked about that. And then we got Quincy Williams. He's coming up. He's going to want to get paid. And
Yep.
Sherwood got paid, so he's probably going to want more than him. But I don't know if he can outperform him, because Sherwood was 3rd in the league in tackles last year with 158 tackles, and 1st in solo tackles at 98. Holy shit, did he ball out? That's why he got team MVP.
And a contract.
Anyway, and then who do you pay with? We also got Breeze coming up. And then Jermaine Johnson, like, we only got one franchise and one transitional tag. So, and I know the guys got to ball out, so, but I would like to lock down some of these guys before it gets to free agency. But
He gets cut there. The 3 minutes was up for our guy, Travis, but he brings up some interesting points, right? Like, obviously, it's you gotta make some tough decisions. Are they going to be able to pay both guards that were referenced, Elijah Vera Tucker and John Simpson? We'll see. I think John Simpson would be easier to do in season. I think AVT is an interesting one. One, because you have the injuries from the past, right? So how's he looking this year? And two, if he hits the open market, will someone pay him to play tackle? Because then that would command more money. I don't know. I'm not saying they can't retain both guys. It's just that might be tough. And then if you do, then, what are you doing with Breece Hall? And what are you doing with Quincy Williams? And, Quincy was someone you mentioned. Unfortunately, I think it's probably going to be Quincy's last year with the Jets, because you just paid Jamie and Sherwood a decent amount of money. Are you going to pay two linebackers like $15 million a year? That's tough. It's really tough. It's a salary cap sport. There's only so many guys that you can pay. I'm sure the Jets would love to keep Quincy Williams and keep them both. They want to keep all their good players, but it comes a point where you got to start making those tough calls. And I don't know the route that they're going to go just yet. Thank you, Travis, for the call. Let's go to PG up next.
Hello, Matt O'Leary, PG from Long Island here. Thank you for taking the call. Very excited here for the start of training camp, and for a couple of reasons. One reason is what we don't have, and the other reason is what we do have. What we don't have this training camp is any drama.
Yes.
The extensions have been signed, all the draft picks are signed, and in training camp, and it's a nice change of pace here for the Jets. So kudos to the new regime for getting that done. What we do have is a ton of competition, a ton of positional battles. Starting with special teams, competition for the kicker, competition for the punter. Who's going to return punts? Who's going to return kicks? Who's going to be the gunner? On the defensive side of the ball, great competition for who's going to start opposite Sauce Gardner, who's going to be the third linebacker, who's going to be the strong safety, who's going to line up next to Quinton inside of the starting defensive tackle, who are going to be the third and fourth edge rushers. So tons of competition. On the offensive side, is Donovan Edwards going to make the roster? Is he going to push for a spot? How is the order of the tight end room going to look? And, of course, wide receiver is wide open. You have a bunch of wide receivers. Who's going to step up to be number 2? And really, who's going to make the roster? Couple names I want to throw out there. One is Isaiah Oliver. Don't rule him out as pushing for the starting safety job. He has experience with Wilkes. He's an experienced player. And, he could be in the mix there. The second guy is in the tight end room. Watch out for Andrew Beck. Now, he's listed on the roster as a fullback, but he's played a lot of tight end in his career. He's a very good player, and he just might push for a role in the tight end role. Again, they're going to run a lot of two bets. This is going to be a run-heavy team, so keep an eye out for Andrew Beck. Henry Matt O'Leary, love to get your thoughts on that, as always. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you, PG. Appreciate your call and check in this week. Isaiah Oliver, that one got the biggest reaction out of me because you're right. Safety is wide open, man. Malachi Moore, a day 3 pick. Is it going to be him? Tony Adams, I think, is certainly not a lock to be a starter, and he's more of a free safety anyway, which is what Andre Sisco is going to play. How much are we going to see Zaire Thomas, AZ Thomas push Brandon Stevens? Does Brandon Stevens play safety? A lot of questions going to be answered in training camp. And this is the fun part, man, because it's been a lot of talk this offseason about speculation. What's going to happen? Or who are we going to see where? Is this guy going to win this job? Who's going to be the kick returner and punt returner? Well, now is the time where we answer those questions. And we might not know to the end of August, which is fine. But I love this time of year because we're going through the process of finding out how this roster is going to shake out. There's 90 guys there at training camp. They got to get it down to 53. So who's going to win what job? What's the surprise cut going to be? Who maybe has a bigger role than we originally anticipated? It happens every single year. And I, for one, I'm just ready to find out, like the rest of you guys, like PG is. We close with our friend Peter from Hudson Valley.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from the beautiful Hudson Valley on this Tuesday late afternoon because I almost forgot to call you sooner, as I usually do each week, after still being so amped up about the new contracts for Sauce and for Garrett and camp opening today. Oh, isn't that great? Football is back. Anyway, going back to what I originally called in on several times last week. I know it wasn't 10, but I think it was 4 overall. Wanted to talk about good moments in Jets history.
Let's do it.
After all those bad moments that we talked about. So, going back to, again, those first couple of years, for me as a Jets fan, seeing them make the playoffs in 81, 82 was really good for me. Obviously, I got spoiled from that because it didn't happen much after for quite a long time. The 98 season and going all the way to the NFC Championship was good. Obviously not the way it ended. Same thing, of course, with 09 and 2010. The Super Bowl always is going to be a top moment in Jets history for all Jets fans, even if it was 3 years before I was born. But I think my favorite overall top moment in Jets history is going back to those playoffs when they beat the Patriots. And, of course, in the postgame, as I was mentioning, Sal Palantonio talking to Bart Scott and the old "can't wait, can't stop a nosebleed" and all that stuff was fabulous. I just love it. Anytime you can take the Patriots down, just like in Bill Belichick's last game with the Patriots, that's another highlight moment. And of course, the first game my brother and nephew have been able to go to back 2015 was the game when they beat the Patriots. Unfortunately, then lost, I think, the final week to the Bills and didn't make the playoffs that year. So a lot of highlights over the years, and obviously the draft in 2022. These contracts, as I mentioned from last week, are a good highlight. Nice to be able to get your players signed and keep them going forward. That's always a great thing. So that's my thoughts for this week. I think training camp will be good, and hopefully we get JJ back on the field as soon as possible. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you for the call. I love all those memories. I was at the 2015 game you referenced also. That's by far the best Jets game that I've ever been to. I don't go crazy often, maybe like once a year. I started going to regular season games when I was a little bit older. I think I was 14 for my first regular season game. I went to a couple preseason games when I was younger, but that was just something that we didn't really do. You know, again, I grew up on Long Island. It wasn't like that. They were, crazy close, and it was kind of harder to get tickets in the early 2000s. But we would go to training camp, a shit ton of training camp practices every year when they were at Hofstra. Growing up 10 minutes away, I felt like I was there 3 times a week. I don't know if that's actually what it was, but that's what it felt like at the time growing up. And they would do 2-a-days back then. You'd have an early practice and a later practice. It was awesome. That's some of my fondest memories too in my Jets fandom is those training camps over at Hofstra. A lot of good ones referenced, man. I am envious of everyone who really remembers that 98 season. I was too young. I was only 3 in 98, so I don't have any memory of it. But 12-4, that's got to be the best Jets team of my lifetime. And even though they made it the same distance in 2009 and 2010, 12-4 and finishing the season, 12-2, right? Because they started 0-2 to start that year. Just a powerhouse team. First round bye, beat up in Jacksonville in the divisional round. That's a damn playoff team right there, and that's a really good football team. So I wish I was a little bit older so that I could have had that memory. But I'll take my 2009 and 2010 Jets. Those are certainly some fond ones, and hopefully some new memories coming soon, because I'm pretty sick and tired of talking about a team that doesn't win very many football games. That'll do it for me in this one, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.